The transport ship left without him. Jiho stood on the loading dock of Talvek mining station and watched the engines flare bright in the darkness of space. His chest felt tight. Everything he owned was in the small bag at his feet. His credits were gone. The company had taken them all for contract violations they said he committed. It was a lie. But lies didn't matter when you were alone on a station at the edge of known space. The dock was cold. Jiho pulled his jacket closer and walked toward the station entrance. His breath made small clouds in the air. The Velmar who ran this place didn't keep their stations warm like humans did. They were reptilian, cold-blooded, and they liked it this way. Inside, the station was quiet. A few Velmar workers moved through the corridors, their scales catching the dim light. They were tall, taller than most humans, with long faces and golden eyes that seemed to see everything. When they noticed Jiho, they moved away. Some hissed softly. Humans were not welcome here. Humans were loud and reckless, and caused problems. That's what the Velmar believed. Jiho found the administration office. The administrator was an old Velmar named Kes. His scales were pale gray with age, and his eyes were cold when he looked at Jiho. "I need help," Jiho said. "My transport left me. I have no way off this station." Kes barely looked up from his data screen. "That is not our problem, human. You should have paid your debts." "I didn't have debts. The company lied. They wanted to avoid paying my contract." "Again, not our problem." Kes's voice was flat. "You cannot stay here. We do not have resources for outsiders. Where am I supposed to go?" Jiho felt anger rising in his chest. "The next transport won't arrive for 3 months. Find a way to survive until then." "But you cannot use station resources. Those are for workers only." Kes turned back to his screen. The conversation was over. Jiho left the office. His hands were shaking. 3 months. He had maybe a week of food in his bag. No money. No friends. No one who cared if he lived or died. He walked through the station, looking for anything that might help. Maybe someone needed repair work. Maybe someone would trade food for labor. But every door closed when he approached. Every Velmar turned away. By the 3rd day, Jiho's food was half gone. By the 5th day, he was hungry all the time. He found an abandoned storage room in the lower levels and slept there, using his jacket as a blanket. The cold made his bones ache. On the 7th day, someone knocked on the storage room door. Jiho opened it carefully. A young Velmar stood outside. He was smaller than most, his scales a lighter green, his eyes nervous. He held a container of food. "You are the human," the Velmar said. It wasn't a question. "Yes, I am Tesh. I work in maintenance." He held out the container. "You need food." Jiho stared at the container. His stomach hurt from hunger. "Why would you help me?" Tesh looked down the corridor, making sure no one was watching. "Because it is wrong to let someone starve. Take it, quickly." Jiho took the food. It was some kind of protein paste and vegetables. It wasn't good, but it was food. "Thank you. Stay here. I will bring more when I can." Tesh turned to leave, then stopped. "Do not tell anyone. My family would be angry if they knew." That was how it started. Every few days, Tesh brought food. Sometimes he brought water. Once, he brought a thermal blanket. They didn't talk much at first. Tesh was scared of being caught. But slowly, conversation grew. "Why do you help me?" Jiho asked one day. Tesh sat down in the storage room. It had become their meeting place. "My grandfather told me stories. He said that kindness to strangers is the mark of civilization. The council says humans are dangerous. But you have done nothing dangerous. You are just alone. Your people hate humans." "Fear," Tesh corrected. "We fear humans. You expand fast. You take risks we would never take. You are unpredictable. But fear is not the same as hate." Jiho smiled. "We're not that scary. You jumped into space with primitive ships. You colonized worlds that could kill you. You start wars and make peace in the same year. To us, that is terrifying. To us, that's just Tuesday. Tesh made a sound that might have been a laugh. It was a strange sound, like air escaping. Tell me about Earth, so Jiho told him. He talked about oceans and forests. He talked about cities that touch the clouds. He talked about music and art and the 1,000 different ways humans lived. Tesh listened to everything, his golden eyes wide. In return, Tesh showed Jiho the station. At night, when most workers slept, they walked the corridors. Tesh explained how the mining operation worked, how the Velmar lived, what they believed. Jiho learned that the Velmar valued stability above all. They moved slowly, carefully, planning everything. They had been mining these rocks for 200 years and would mine them for 200 more. Doesn't that get boring? Jiho asked. Safe, Tesh said. Not boring. Safe. 2 months passed. Jiho helped where he could. He fixed broken equipment in the storage room, using tools Tesh borrowed. He solved problems with the station's systems that the Velmar engineers couldn't figure out. Human engineering was different, more adaptable, and sometimes that difference helped. Then the solar flare came. The station's sensors detected it too late. A massive wave of radiation was coming, and the shielding array wasn't responding. The station went into emergency mode. Alarms screamed through the corridors. If the shields didn't activate, everyone would die. Jiho ran to the maintenance bay where Tesh worked. What's happening? The shield array is frozen. Someone needs to reset it manually. But it requires a spacewalk, and the flare will hit in 20 minutes. Tesh's scales were pale with fear. No one has time to suit up and get there. I can do it. You are not trained for our systems. I'm an engineer. Show me what needs to be done. Tesh pulled up the schematics. The manual reset was simple. Just 3 switches that needed to be thrown in sequence. But the array was on the outside of the station. A 5-minute walk in a spacewalk suit. I'll go, Jiho said. You will die if you are still outside when the flare hits. Then I better be fast. Tesh helped him into one of the suits. It was made for Velmar, too long in the arms and legs. But it worked. Jiho went through the airlock and into the black. Space was silent and vast. The array was ahead, a cluster of metal and electronics attached to the station's hull. He moved as fast as he could. His heart pounded. The suit's timer said 15 minutes until the flare. He reached the array and found the access panel. First switch. Second switch. The third was stuck. He pulled harder. It wouldn't move. 10 minutes. Jiho braced his feet and pulled with everything he had. The switch broke free. He threw it. The array hummed to life. Lights flickered across its surface. The shields activated. 5 minutes. He ran. The airlock seemed so far away. His lungs burned. The suit's alarm was screaming. 3 minutes. 2 minutes. He dove through the airlock door. Tesh slammed it shut. The flare hit. The station shook. The shields held. Everyone was safe. Kes came to the storage room the next day. His expression was different. Not warm, but not cold either. The council has decided. You may take the next transport. No charge. And thank you. When the transport arrived, Tesh came to say goodbye. Jiho pulled something from his bag. It was a small, smooth stone, dark gray with white lines running through it. This is from Earth, from a river near my home. Keep it. Tesh held the stone carefully. Why? So you remember that someone from another world cared about you. And Tesh, if you ever need anything, anywhere, just call. Humans remember their debts. This was not a debt. Then humans remember their friends. The transport took Jiho away. Tesh stood on the loading dock and watched the engines flare bright in the darkness. He held the Earthstone in his hand and wondered if he would ever see the human again. 15 years changed everything. Tesh was no longer the young maintenance worker who brought food to a stranded human. His scales had darkened with age, and his position on Velthara had grown important. He was now senior engineer for the Southern Continent's mining operations and sat on the community advisory board. He had a family. He had respect. Life was good, stable, the way Velmar life should be. Then the sensors detected the fleet. It started as a routine scan. The Deep Space Monitoring Station picked up signatures at the edge of the system. Ships. Many ships. Moving toward Velthara, with purpose. At first, the technicians thought it was a merchant convoy, but merchant ships didn't travel in formation. Merchant ships didn't jam communications. Merchant ships didn't carry that many weapons. The data reached the Velmar Council within hours. Tesh was called to an emergency meeting. He had never seen the council chamber so crowded. Every important leader from every continent was there. The room was filled with the smell of fear. Velmar gave off a sharp scent when they were afraid. Elder Kess stood at the center. He was ancient now, his scales almost white, but his mind was still sharp. "The analysis is complete," he said. His voice carried through the silent chamber. "The approaching fleet belongs to the Kreth Dominion." The room erupted. Everyone spoke at once. The Kreth were known throughout the galaxy. They were conquerors. They took worlds and made slaves of the people who lived there. They stripped planets of resources and left nothing behind but dust. Dozens of species had fallen to them. "How many ships?" someone asked. 47, Kess replied. "They will reach Velthara in 18 days. Our defense fleet? 9 frigates. Outdated. No match for Kreth warships." The room fell silent again. Everyone understood what this meant. Velthara was going to fall. Their civilization, which had existed for 3,000 years, was going to end. "We must contact the Galactic Assembly," Mireille said. She was the head of the council. A strong leader who rarely showed emotion, but now her voice shook. "They have protocols for this. They must help us." "We are not full members," Kess reminded her. "We have observer status only. The Assembly is not required to provide military aid. Then we request emergency membership. That process takes months. We have days." Tesh watched the council argue. They talked about evacuation, but where would they go? They talked about negotiation, but the Kreth didn't negotiate. They talked about defense, but they had no weapons that could stop 47 warships. Every option led to the same conclusion. They were going to die. 3 days passed. The Galactic Assembly responded to their request. The message was formal and polite. The Assembly extended their sympathy. They encouraged peaceful resolution. They offered to send observers to document the situation, but they would not send military help. The rules were clear. Non-member worlds were on their own. Tesh went home that night and held his younglings. They were too small to understand what was coming. They played with their toys and made happy sounds. His mate, Nala, looked at him with frightened eyes. "Is there no hope?" she asked. Tesh thought about the question. He thought about hope. He thought about a human in a storage room, eating protein paste and talking about Earth. He thought about a smooth stone in his desk drawer, a stone he had kept for 15 years. "Maybe," he said quietly. The next day, he went to the council chamber early. Kess was already there, reviewing star charts. "Elder," Tesh said, "I have a suggestion. We are considering all options. This one you have not considered. We should contact the humans." Kess turned slowly. His golden eyes studied Tesh. "The humans have no alliance with us. Why would they help? 15 years ago, a human stayed on Talvek mining station. He was abandoned by his transport. Everyone refused to help him. I helped him. Before he left, he made a promise. He said if we ever needed anything, we should call. The word of one human means nothing. It might mean everything. What do we have to lose?" Kess was quiet for a long time. "The Council believes humans are dangerous, unpredictable. We do not know their military strength. We do not know their intentions. Calling them might bring a different kind of threat, or it might save us. You put much faith in this one human. He saved everyone on that station. He risked his life when he had no reason to. I think humans value honor more than we understand." Kess looked at the star charts again. At the approaching Kreth fleet. At the countdown that showed 13 days remaining. What was his name? Jiho. You can find him? I kept his contact information. He said to call if I needed help. I never thought I would. Kess made a decision. Tesh could see it in the way his scales shifted. The council will not authorize this officially. If you want to contact this human, you do it on your own. If he refuses, if he brings trouble, it will be on you. I understand. Do you still have the stone he gave you? Tesh was surprised. You knew about that? I know many things. Do you have it? Yes. Then use it. Show him you remembered. Show him we remember. Tesh went to his home and retrieved the stone from his desk. It was still smooth. Still beautiful. He set up a recording device and composed his message. He tried several times. How do you ask someone to save your entire world? How do you call in a debt that was never really a debt? Finally, he just spoke from his heart. Jiho, my friend, this is Tesh. I do not know if you remember me. 15 years ago, you stayed on Talvek Station. I brought you food. You fixed our shields and saved many lives. When you left, you gave me a stone from Earth and told me to call if I ever needed help. I kept the stone. I kept your promise in my heart. Now I must ask for that help. Our world is under threat. The Kreth Dominion is coming with 47 warships. We have 9 frigates. We have no allies. The Galactic Assembly will not help us. In 18 days, my people will be destroyed. I do not ask for you to fight our battle. I do not ask for military help, but if Earth has any resources, any way to help evacuate our younglings, any diplomatic pressure you can apply, I beg you to try. I know this is much to ask. I know we are not your people. But you said humans remember their friends. I hope that is true. I hope you remember me. He attached coordinates. He attached data about the Kreth fleet. He attached everything that might be useful. Then, he held up the stone to the camera. I still have this. I have kept it safe. It reminds me that kindness exists in the universe, that someone from another world cared enough to give me something precious. I hope Earth is as kind as you were. He sent the message. It would take days to reach Earth, then more days for any response, if there was a response. Tesh told no one what he had done. He went about his duties. He helped plan the evacuation that would save so few. He held his younglings and told them stories about safety. 5 days later, the response came. It was a text message, short and simple. Hold on. We're coming. All of us. Jiho. Tesh read it 3 times. 4 times. He didn't understand. What did all of us mean? Was Jiho bringing a transport ship? A few refugees, ships? That would be something. That would save some lives. He brought the message to Kess. The elder read it and tilted his head in the way Velmar did when they were confused. What does he mean by all of us? I don't know. 2 days later, Earth sent an official communication to the Velmar Council. It was formal and direct. The 4th Fleet of Earth's Defense Force was en route to Velthara. Estimated arrival, 13 days. Purpose: defense and humanitarian assistance. Commander: Admiral Jiho Park. The council chamber erupted again. But this time it was not fear. It was confusion. What is a fleet? Someone asked. How many ships is a fleet? Another wondered. Why would humans send military forces for us? Mireille pulled up information about Earth's military. It was limited. Earth was relatively new to galactic politics. They had colonies, but they were not a major power. Their military strength was unknown. Some reports called them reckless. Some called them brilliant. No one really knew. This could be a mistake, someone said. What if they arrive and cannot help? What if the Kreth destroy them too? But Kess was looking at the message differently. Admiral, he said slowly. The human who helped us 15 years ago is now an admiral. He commands a fleet. Does that mean he is important? Tesh asked. Very important. Admirals command large military forces. If Earth sent him, They sent someone they trust. Mireille stood. We have 12 days until the Kreeth arrive. The human fleet will arrive the day before. If they can buy us time, we can evacuate more people. If they can help us negotiate, we might survive. It is more hope than we had yesterday. The council agreed. They sent a response to Earth. They thanked them. They provided intelligence about the Kreeth fleet. They prepared for the arrival of their unexpected allies. Tesh went home that night and held the Earth stone. Jiho had remembered. After 15 years, across the vast distance of space, a human had remembered a promise made in a storage room. What kind of people are they? Nala asked. Tesh thought about it. I met one human. He was alone and afraid, but he never gave up. He fixed what was broken. He saved people who treated him badly. He kept his promises, and now he is coming with a fleet. Yes. Do you think they can win? Tesh didn't know, but for the first time in days, he felt something other than fear. He felt hope. The message arrived at Earth Fleet Command at 0400 hours. Admiral Jiho Park was in his quarters when his personal terminal chimed. He almost ignored it. Messages could wait until morning, but something made him check. The sender was listed as unknown. The origin was Velthara. Jiho sat up. He hadn't heard that name in years. He opened the message and saw a face he never thought he would see again. Jiho, my friend. This is Tesh. Jiho watched the entire message. He saw the fear in Tesh's golden eyes. He saw the stone. That smooth piece of earth he had given away so long ago. When the message ended, he sat in silence for several minutes. Then he got dressed and went to Fleet Command. The night officer was surprised to see him. Admiral? Is everything okay? Wake the Defense Council. Emergency meeting. 1 hour. Sir, it's 4 in the morning. I know what time it is. 1 hour. The Defense Council met in the secure conference room. There were 12 members, military and civilian leaders, who made decisions about Earth's security. They were not happy about being woken up. Counselor Sunwoo was particularly annoyed. This better be important, Admiral. Jiho played Tesh's message for everyone. The room was quiet as they watched. When it ended, Jiho spoke. Velthara is 18 days from invasion. They're asking for our help. Who are the Velmar to us? Sunwoo asked. We have no treaty with them. No alliance. No trade agreement. 15 years ago, one of them saved my life. Now he's asking me to save his. That's personal, not political. It's both. Jiho brought up a star map. The Kreeth Dominion has been expanding for 20 years. They've taken 12 systems. They enslave populations and strip worlds. Every time they win, they get stronger. Everyone watches and does nothing. What does that have to do with Earth? Everything. We're new to galactic politics. No one knows what we stand for. No one knows if they can trust us. This is our chance to show them who we are. General Daehyun leaned forward. He was the fleet commander. A careful man who thought through every decision. What are you proposing? Send the 4th Fleet to Velthara. Defend their world. Show the galaxy that Earth stands with those who need help. Sunwoo shook his head. We can't commit a fleet based on personal sentiment. The 4th Fleet is 23 warships. That's a significant portion of our military. What if we need those ships here? We have 3 other fleets protecting Earth and our colonies. The 4th is our rapid response force. This is what it's for. To defend Earth's interests, not alien worlds we have no connection to. A younger officer named Hyun-soo spoke up. He was a tactical analyst. Smart and direct. Counselor, with respect, we do have an interest. 40 species are watching this situation. The Velmar asked the Galactic Assembly for help and got nothing. If we help them, those 40 species will remember. They'll see Earth as reliable, as honorable. That's worth more than 23 ships. Or they'll see us as reckless, Sunwoo countered. Jumping into fights that aren't ours. The Velmar have intelligence about the Kreth fleet, Jiho added. 47 warships. We've never fought the Kreth. This is a chance to learn their tactics, their technology. If they keep expanding, we'll face them eventually. Better to do it on our terms. The debate went on for 2 hours. Some council members supported the mission, others opposed it. They talked about risk and reward, about resources and strategy, about what Earth should stand for in the galaxy. Finally, the council took a vote. 7-5. The mission was approved, but there were conditions. This is a defense operation only, Sunwoo said. You will protect Velthara. You will not pursue the Kreth if they retreat. You will not start a war. If the situation becomes unwinnable, you will evacuate as many Velmar as possible and withdraw. Is that clear? Clear, Jiho said. And Admiral, if this goes wrong, it's on you. Understood. Jiho left the meeting and went straight to the Fleet Command Center. He pulled up the roster for the 4th Fleet. 23 ships, 6,000 personnel. It was a good fleet, well-trained, but they had never been in a real battle. Earth had been at peace for 10 years. Some of the younger crew had never seen combat. He called Commander Daehyun to his office. Daehyun had commanded the EFS Indomitable, the fleet's carrier, for 3 years. He was experienced and reliable. We're going to Velthara, Jiho said. Full fleet deployment. We leave in 6 hours. Daehyun didn't look surprised. He had been in the council meeting. What are we up against? Jiho showed him the intelligence. 47 Kreth warships. The data included ship classes, estimated weapons, formation patterns. The Velmar had been thorough. They outnumber us 2-1, Daehyun said quietly. Yes. You think we can win? I think we have to try. The crew will want to know why we're doing this. They'll want to know why they're risking their lives for aliens they've never met. Jiho thought about that. Tell them the truth. Tell them that 15 years ago, I was stranded on a station with no food, no money, and no hope. Everyone turned me away except one person. He brought me food. He gave me shelter. He risked his position and his safety to help me. Now his world is dying, and he's asking for help. Tell them we're going because humans keep their promises. Tell them we're going because it's right. Daehyun nodded slowly. That might actually work. It better. We have 6 hours to prep the fleet. The next 6 hours were chaos. 23 ships prepared for immediate deployment. Crews loaded supplies. Engineers checked every system. Pilots ran through combat drills. The entire fleet buzzed with activity. Hyunsoo came to Jiho's office with tactical plans. I've analyzed the Kreth fleet composition. They favor heavy cruisers and rely on overwhelming firepower. But their formations are predictable. If we can separate their forces, we can take them piece by piece. Can we separate them? With the right bait. The Indomitable is big enough to draw attention. If we send her in first, supported by destroyer screens, the Kreth will focus on her. That gives our strike wings an opening. You're asking Daehyun to paint a target on his ship. I'm asking him to do his job. That's what carriers do. They project power and draw fire while the real damage comes from strike craft. Jiho studied the plans. They were good. Risky, but good. Run it by Daehyun. If he approves, we'll use it. 4 hours before departure, Jiho recorded a message to Tesh. He kept it short. Hold on. We're coming. All of us. 2 hours before departure, he addressed the fleet. Every ship's crew was watching. 6,000 faces looked at him through screens. You've heard by now where we're going and why. I want to be clear about this mission. We're not going to Velthara because they're our allies. We're going because one of them helped me when no one else would. We're going because humans stand by their friends. We're going because the galaxy needs to know that Earth keeps its promises. The Kreth Dominion thinks they can take whatever they want. They think no one will stop them. Today, we prove them wrong. This won't be easy. We're outnumbered. But we have something they don't. We have a reason to fight. We're not fighting for conquest or resources. We're fighting for people who can't fight for themselves. That makes us stronger. I've never been more proud to serve with you. Let's show the galaxy what humans can do. The fleet departed on schedule. 23 ships entered jump space, racing across the stars toward Velthara. It would take 12 days to get there. 12 days to train, to plan, to prepare. During the journey, Jiho walked through the Indomitable. He visited every section. He talked to engineers in the reactor rooms. He ate with pilots in the mess hall. He checked on medical teams and communications officers. He wanted everyone to see him, to know he believed in this mission. On day 7, they received an update from Velthara. The Kreth fleet had entered the system. They were broadcasting demands. Surrender or die. The Velmar were evacuating cities, but there wasn't enough time. Millions would be left behind. On day 10, Squadron Leader Jiwan came to Jiho with a question. She was young, only 26, but she was the best pilot in the fleet. Sir, I've been talking to my pilots. We want to know what happens if we lose. We won't lose, but if we do? Jiho looked at her. If we lose, we make sure the Velmar can evacuate. We buy them time with our lives if we have to. No one gets left behind. That's what I told my pilots. Just wanted to make sure I was right. You were right. On day 12, they reached Velthara. The Kreth fleet was already there, surrounding the planet in a blockade formation. 47 warships. Just like the intelligence said, they were massive, dark and angular, bristling with weapons. The Fourth Fleet dropped out of jump space at the edge of the system. The Kreth detected them immediately. A message came through. Broadcast on all frequencies. The voice was harsh and mechanical. Unknown vessels, you are trespassing in Kreth space. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed. Daehyun looked at Jiho. They're claiming the system already. They can claim whatever they want. Jiho opened a channel. This is Admiral Jiho Park of the Earth Defense Force. Velthara is a sovereign world under our protection. You are ordered to withdraw immediately. There was a pause, then laughter. Harsh, mocking laughter. Earth? We have never heard of Earth. You have 23 ships. We have 47. Leave now, or die with the Velmar. Jiho looked at his crew. At Daehyun and Hyunsu, and all the others who had traveled so far. They looked back at him with steady eyes. They were ready. To all Kreth vessels, Jiho said calmly. You have 5 minutes to begin withdrawal. After that, we will consider you hostile and respond accordingly. More laughter. You are either brave or stupid, Earth Admiral. We shall see which. Jiho closed the channel. He looked at Daehyun. Sound general quarters. Launch all strike craft. Signal the fleet. We're going in. Alarms rang through every ship. 6,000 humans moved to battle stations. Fighters launched from carrier bays. Weapons powered up. Shields activated. The Fourth Fleet moved forward. The Kreth stopped laughing. The Kreth fleet moved into attack formation. 47 warships rearranged themselves, forming 3 battle groups. They were confident. They had won dozens of battles with these tactics. They would win this one too. On the surface of Velthara, Tesh watched the sky. He stood in an emergency command center with hundreds of other Velmar. Massive screens showed the space above their world. The Kreth fleet was a dark cloud. The human ships looked so small in comparison. They cannot win, someone said. There are too many Kreth. They came anyway, Tesh replied quietly. They came all this way for us. Elder Kes stood beside him. Let us hope their courage is matched by their skill. In space, Admiral Jiho studied the tactical display. The Kreth were arranging themselves into a hammer formation. 3 groups would strike from different angles, crushing the Fourth Fleet between them. It was effective, but predictable. Hyunsu, Jiho said. Execute Plan Delta. Yes, sir. The Fourth Fleet split into 4 groups. 3 destroyer squadrons moved to intercept the Kreth battle groups. The carrier Indomitable and her escorts drove straight toward the Kreth center. The Kreth commander, Overlord Vareth, watched from his flagship. The humans were dividing their forces. Foolish. He opened a channel. All ships, fire at will, destroy them. The first Kreth battle group opened fire. Energy beams lanced through space, bright and deadly. The human destroyers scattered, moving fast and erratic. The Kreth weapons mostly missed. When they hit, human shields flared but held. Then the humans fired back. Vareth watched in surprise as kinetic rounds tore through space. They moved at incredible speed, accelerated by magnetic rails. 3 Kreth cruisers took direct hits. Their shields collapsed. Armor shattered. 1 ship broke in half. "What are these weapons?" Vareth demanded. "Kinetic accelerators," his tactical officer reported. "Solid projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. Primitive, but effective, Overlord." The human destroyers kept moving, kept firing. They didn't stay still like most species did. They danced through space, using their engines in ways that seemed impossible. Thrust here, drift there, fire, thrust again. It was chaos. Beautiful, deadly chaos. Squadron leader Jiwan led her fighters toward the second Kreth battle group. She had 48 craft under her command. The Kreth launched their own fighters to intercept. There were more of them, nearly 100. "Stay tight," Jiwan said over the squadron channel. "Delta formation." On my mark, the fighters met in a swirling dogfight. The Kreth pilots were good, but they fought the way they always fought. Predictable patterns, standard maneuvers. The human pilots fought differently. They used every trick they had. Rolls and loops and sudden direction changes that should have been impossible. G1 locked onto a Kreth fighter. She waited until the last moment, then fired. The Kreth ship exploded. She didn't celebrate. She was already looking for the next target. 2 on your 6. G1, her wingman called. "I see them. Stay with me." She dove toward the nearest Kreth cruiser, flying so close to its hull that her fighter's alarms screamed. The 2 Kreth fighters following her weren't as brave. They broke off. G1 pulled up and came around behind them. 2 more kills, but the Kreth had numbers. For every Kreth fighter destroyed, there were 2 more. Human pilots were dying. Ships exploded in bright flashes. G1 saw one of her squadrons go down. 4 pilots lost in seconds. "We need support," she called to the Indomitable. "On the way," Daehyun replied. The carrier's point defense systems opened up. Streams of small-caliber rounds filled space around the battle. Kreth fighters flew into the wall of fire and disintegrated. It gave the human pilots room to breathe, room to regroup. The Indomitable herself was taking fire. Dozens of energy beams hammered her shields. The ship shook with each impact. Daehyun gripped his command chair. "Shield status?" "Holding at 60%, the tactical officer reported. "But we can't take much more. We don't need much more." "Hyunsu, is your surprise ready?" "Ready, Commander." The 4th group of human ships had been hanging back, seemingly in reserve. But they weren't reserves. They were the Hammer. 4 destroyers, and 1 very special ship, called the Soul's Hammer. The Soul's Hammer was an experimental dreadnought. Earth had built only one. She was smaller than a Kreth battleship but armed with a weapon no one had seen before. A magnetic accelerator cannon that ran the entire length of the ship. It took tremendous power to fire, and the recoil was massive. But the projectile it launched could punch through almost anything. "Soul's Hammer," Jiho said. "You are clear to fire when ready." The dreadnought's captain, a woman named Borum, smiled. Finally. Target locked on the Kreth flagship. Firing. The Soul's Hammer lit up. Energy poured into the magnetic coils. The ship's entire power grid devoted itself to one purpose. Then the weapon fired. The projectile was a solid tungsten rod, 20 meters long and 2 meters wide. It left the cannon at 90% of light speed. It covered the distance to the Kreth flagship in less than a second. Overlord Vareth saw it coming. He opened his mouth to give orders. Then the projectile hit. It went through the flagship's shields like they weren't there. It pierced the armor. It tore through the ship from bow to stern. The flagship shuddered. Systems failed. Hull breaches opened to space. The great warship began to die, but the projectile kept going. It struck a heavy cruiser behind the flagship. Then another. 3 ships. 1 shot. The Kreth fleet faltered. For the first time in decades, they felt fear. All ships, Jiho ordered. Full assault, now. The 4th fleet surged forward. Destroyers fired their railguns in coordinated volleys. Fighters swarmed damaged Kreth ships, targeting weak points. The Indomitable launched missiles, dozens of them, each one locked onto a different target. The Velmar defense fleet, which had been holding back, found their courage. 9 frigates moved to join the battle. Their weapons were old, but they knew how to use them. They focused on the smaller Kreth ships, the ones already damaged by human weapons. Tesh watched from the command center. He could barely believe what he was seeing. The humans were winning. Against impossible odds, they were winning, but the battle wasn't over. The Kreth were brutal and experienced. They began to adapt. Their formations tightened. They concentrated fire on individual human ships. A destroyer took too many hits and exploded. Another lost engines and drifted helplessly. "We're losing ships," Daehyun reported. "I know." Jiho watched the tactical display. They had destroyed or disabled 20 Kreth vessels. But the remaining ships were fighting harder now. Desperate, and they were still outnumbered. "Jiwon, how are your pilots?" "Tired, low on ammunition, but we're still flying. One more run. Target the Kreth command cruiser. The big one on the left flank." "Copy that." Jiwon rallied her remaining fighters. She had started with 48. She had 23 left. Each one represented a human who had flown across the galaxy for people they didn't know. She would make their sacrifice count. The fighters dove toward the command cruiser. Point defense fire filled space. 2 fighters exploded. Another lost a wing and tumbled away. But the rest kept coming. They fired missiles at point-blank range, too close for the cruiser to dodge. The missiles hit. The command cruiser's bridge section exploded. The ship lost coordination. Its weapons went silent. "Target destroyed," Jiwon reported. "But Admiral, we're done. No ammunition left. Half my squadron is gone." "You did good, Jiwon. All of you did good. Come home." The fighters returned to the Indomitable. The remaining Kreth ships were breaking formation. Some tried to retreat. Some tried to regroup. None of it worked. The human destroyers hunted them down. The Soul's Hammer fired twice more, each shot destroying multiple targets. After 4 hours, it was over. The Kreth fleet was shattered. 31 ships destroyed. 12 disabled. 4 had managed to jump away. Not one human ship had been lost, though many were damaged. 234 human crew members had died, including pilots, including engineers who had been in the wrong section when the shields failed, including a young man from medical who had been trying to save a wounded pilot when his ship was hit. Admiral Jiho stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and looked at the casualty reports. 234 names. 234 people who would never see Earth again. "Was it worth it?" Daehyun asked quietly. Jiho looked at Velthara on the view screen. The planet was safe. Millions of Velmar would live because of what happened here today. "Yes," he said. "It was worth it." A transmission came from the planet's surface. It was Tesh. His voice was shaking. "Admiral Jiho, we saw everything. We cannot believe what you have done. You saved us. All of us. We have no words to express our gratitude." "You don't need words, Tesh. You needed help. We came. That's what friends do. Many of your people died. They died for something that mattered. They died protecting people who couldn't protect themselves. That's the greatest honor a soldier can have." On the surface, Tesh held the Earth stone in his hand. Tears rolled down his scaled face. Around him, Velmar were crying too. They had been saved by strangers from a world most of them had never heard of. Saved by humans who asked for nothing in return except to keep a promise. Elder Kess stood beside Tesh. The old Velmar looked at the sky where human ships still orbited. "We were wrong about them," he said softly. "We called them dangerous. We called them reckless. We were wrong. They are not dangerous. They are powerful. And they use that power to protect others. That is the greatest virtue. The Kreth flagship was still drifting. Overlord Vareth was still alive, barely. He sent a transmission to the human fleet. His voice was weak. "We surrender. Please. We surrender." Jiho considered leaving him to die. The Kreth had enslaved dozens of species. They had destroyed worlds. They deserved no mercy. But that wasn't who humans were. "Send medical teams," Jiho ordered. "Save who you can. Take them as prisoners." "Sir?" Daehyun was surprised. "We're not them. We don't leave enemies to die in space. We're better than that." So human medical teams went to Kreth ships and saved Kreth lives. The prisoners were confused. They had expected to be killed. That's what they would have done. But the humans gave them medical care and food and water. They were treated with basic dignity. One Kreth officer asked why. The human medic treating him shrugged. "Because you're sentient beings. Because you surrendered. Because showing mercy is what separates us from monsters." The officer didn't understand, but he would remember. News of the battle spread across the galaxy. 47 Kreth ships defeated by 23 human vessels. The Kreth Dominion, which had seemed unstoppable, stopped. They sued for peace. They withdrew from contested space. For the first time in 20 years, their expansion ended. And every species in the galaxy learned a new truth. Earth kept its promises. Humans stood by their friends. And you did not want to be their enemy. 3 days after the battle, Admiral Jiho stood on the surface of Velthara for the first time. The transport brought him down to the capital city, where thousands of Velmar had gathered. When he stepped off the landing platform, the crowd went silent. Then, they began to make a sound. A deep thrumming that came from their chests. It was the Velmar way of showing respect and gratitude. Tesh was waiting at the base of the platform. He was older now. His scales darker. His movements slower. But his golden eyes were the same. He looked at Jiho and didn't know what to say. Jiho smiled. "Hello, old friend." Tesh made a sound that was half laugh, half sob. "You came. You really came. I told you I would." They stood there for a moment. Two people from different worlds who had changed the course of history. Then Tesh held out the Earthstone. "You should take this back. The debt is paid." Jiho shook his head. "Keep it. This was never about debt. This was about friendship. R. This was about friendship. R. 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 The Velmar Council held a ceremony in the Great Hall. It was the largest building on the planet, carved from a single piece of crystal that glowed with soft light. Every important leader was there. Every survivor wanted to see the humans who had saved them. Elder Kess spoke first. His voice was still strong despite his age. "We owe our lives to Earth. We owe our civilization to humans. We were wrong about your people. We called you reckless and dangerous. We refused to help one of you when he needed us. Only one young Velmar showed kindness, and that one act of kindness saved us all." Mireille, the head of the council, stepped forward. "We wish to offer Earth a formal alliance. Military, economic, cultural, whatever you need, we will provide. We are forever in your debt." Jiho stood before the council. Behind him were Commander Daehyun, Hyunsu, Squadron Leader Jiwon, and Captain Borum. They represented the thousands who had fought and the hundreds who had died. "We appreciate the offer," Jiho said, "but we did not come for an alliance. We came because it was right. We came because one of you helped me when I had nothing. That kind of kindness should never be forgotten. It should be repaid." "Then what do you want from us?" Mireille asked. "Nothing." "Well, one thing. Be the kind of people who would help a stranger. Be the kind of civilization that values kindness over fear. That's the only payment we need." The crowd thrummed again. The sound filled the hall like music, but Jiho wasn't finished. However, if you're open to it, we would like to build something together. A research station, a place where humans and Velmar can work side by side, learn from each other, and create something new. Not because of debt, but because we're friends. The council agreed immediately. Plans were made, resources were allocated. The first joint research station would be built within a year. Over the next week, Jiho toured Velthara. He visited cities that had nearly been destroyed. He met families who had been preparing to die. He saw younglings playing in parks that should have been battlefields. Everywhere he went, Velmar thanked him. They brought gifts. They offered food. They wanted to touch him, to make sure he was real. Tesh showed him the mining operations. This is where I work. We extract rare minerals that are valuable across the galaxy. With the new alliance, we can share this technology with Earth. We don't need your technology, Jiho said. We just need your friendship. You have it, forever. On the fourth day, Jiwan found Jiho in his temporary quarters. Her uniform was pressed, but her eyes were tired. She had lost 16 of her pilots. Friends. People she had trained with, flown with, laughed with. Sir, I need to ask you something. Go ahead. Was it worth it? 234 people dead. For aliens we didn't know. Was it worth it? Jiho thought about the question. He thought about the young man he had been, stranded on a mining station, starving and alone. He thought about Tesh bringing him food, taking a risk for a stranger. Come with me, he said. He took her to the memorial park the Velmar had built, 234 pillars of crystal, each one etched with the name of a human who had died. Velmar walked through the park, touching the pillars, reading the names. Parents brought their younglings and told them stories about the humans who saved them. Every person here, Jiho said. Every family, every child. They all live because of what we did. That's millions of lives. Our people died protecting them. They died for something bigger than themselves. That's worth everything. Jiwan looked at the pillars, at the Velmar, paying their respects. She nodded slowly. Yeah, I guess it is. The news of what happened at Velthara spread across the galaxy. The story changed, depending on who told it. Some said the humans had a secret weapon. Some said they had 100 ships. Not 23. Some said they were demons who destroyed without mercy. But slowly, the truth emerged. Earth had sent a fleet across the galaxy to save people they didn't know. They had fought against impossible odds and won. They had shown mercy to defeated enemies, and they asked for nothing in return except friendship. Within a month, 12 species contacted Earth requesting diplomatic relations. Within 3 months, it was 40 species. The Galactic Assembly, embarrassed by their failure to help the Velmar, offered Earth full membership with all privileges. Earth accepted. Admiral Jiho became the face of Earth's military. Reporters wanted to interview him. Politicians wanted to meet him. But he avoided most of it. He had done his job. He had kept his promise. That was enough. 6 months after the battle, the research station opened. It was beautiful. A blend of human and Velmar architecture, glass and crystal and metal all working together. The station orbited between Earth and Velthara, a symbol of the friendship between two worlds. Tesh and Jiho were both present for the opening ceremony. Tesh had retired from his position on Velthara to become the station's director. Jiho had been promoted to fleet admiral, but took time to attend. This is bigger than I imagined, Jiho said as they walked through the station. We built it together, Tesh replied. Humans and Velmar, working side by side. Your engineers taught us new methods. Our craftsmen showed your people ancient techniques. It became something neither of us could have built alone. They stopped at a window that looked out at the stars. Earth was visible on one side, a blue and green marble. Velthara was on the other, a golden planet with purple oceans. Do you ever think about that storage room? Tesh asked. Where this all started? All the time. I was so scared. Scared of breaking the rules, scared of what my family would say. But you did. One container of food. That's all it was. How did that turn into this? Jiho smiled. Because kindness has a way of spreading. You showed me kindness. I came back when you needed help. Now humans and Velmar are friends. Who knows where it will go from here? The station filled up quickly. Human scientists and engineers worked alongside Velmar researchers. They studied everything from mineral extraction to medical technology. But more importantly, they learned about each other. They shared meals. They told stories. They became friends. Young people from both species trained together. A human named Kyungmin, who was 6 years old, became best friends with a young Velmar named Shell. They played together in the station's recreation area, speaking a mix of English, Korean, and Velmar. Neither thought it was strange. They had grown up knowing the other species was friendly. One day, Kyungmin asked his father, "Why do some people say Velmar are scary?" His father, who worked in the station's engineering section, knelt down. A long time ago, people didn't know each other. They were afraid of what was different, but some brave people decided to be kind instead of afraid. And that changed everything. Like Admiral Jiho and Director Tesh, exactly like them, Kyungmin ran off to play with Shell. His father watched them go and smiled. This was the future. Children who didn't see differences as threats. Children who saw friends. The Kreth Dominion never recovered from their defeat. The species they had enslaved began to rebel. Without their reputation of invincibility, the Kreth couldn't maintain control. Their empire crumbled over the next few years. Some Kreth eventually came to Earth, asking to learn human ways. It was strange. It was uncomfortable. But Earth accepted them, because Earth believed in second chances. Overlord Vareth, who had commanded the fleet at Velthara, was one of them. He was no longer an overlord. He was just Vareth, a soldier who had lost everything. He came to the research station and asked to speak with Admiral Jiho. Jiho agreed to meet him. They sat in a quiet room with a window showing the stars. "Why did you save me?" Vareth asked. "We are enemies. I would have killed you." "I know." "Then why?" "Because killing defeated enemies makes us like you. Showing mercy makes us human." Vareth was quiet for a long time. "I do not understand your species. But I wish I had met you before the battle. Perhaps things would have been different. Perhaps they still can be. Your empire is gone. Your people are scattered. But you're still alive. What you do with that life is up to you." Vareth left that day. But he came back. He began working in the station, helping in the agricultural section, growing food instead of making war. It was a small thing. But small things mattered. 1 year after the battle, a memorial service was held on Earth. All 234 names were read aloud. Families attended, friends attended. The entire planet stopped to remember those who had died saving strangers. Jiho gave the speech. He stood before thousands and spoke about sacrifice and honor and what it meant to be human. They went across the galaxy for people they had never met. They fought against impossible odds. They died protecting the innocent. They didn't do it for glory or reward. They did it because it was right. Because humans keep their promises. Because we stand by our friends. That is who we are. That is who we will always be. The crowd was silent. Then someone started clapping. Then everyone. The sound rolled through the ceremony like thunder. After the ceremony, an old woman approached Jiho. She had gray hair and kind eyes. "My grandson was a pilot in Squadron Leader Jiwan's unit. He died in the battle." Jiho felt his chest tighten. "I'm sorry. Don't be." Before he left, he sent me a message. He said he was proud to fly for something that mattered. He said that if he died, it would be protecting people who couldn't protect themselves. He was happy. She smiled through her tears. "Thank you for giving him that. Thank you for showing him what we can be." Weak. Fluke hang. Fluke hang. Fluke hang. Fluke hang. Fluke hang. Fluke hang, fluke hang, fluke hang, fluke hang, fluke hang. Jiho couldn't speak. He just nodded. 5 years after the battle, the first generation of children, who had grown up on the research station, graduated. 20 humans and 20 Velmar, all trained in various sciences and engineering fields. They were proof that two species could not just coexist but thrive together. Kyungmin and Shell were among the graduates. They had studied xenobiology together. They planned to explore unknown systems, cataloging new life forms. They would go together, human and Velmar, friends since childhood. At the graduation, Tesh gave a speech. He was even older now, his scales almost gray, but his voice was still strong. When I was young, I brought food to a starving human. I did not know that this small act would save my entire species. I did not know it would create friendships that would span generations. That is the lesson I leave with you. Small acts of kindness can change everything. Never forget that. The graduates applauded. Parents cried. The galaxy watched and saw the future. Jiho retired from active service but stayed on as an advisor. He spent most of his time at the research station, working with Tesh on various projects. They were old men now, both of them, but they were content. One evening, they sat in the observation deck, watching the stars. It was their favorite place, where everything was quiet and vast and beautiful. Do you remember what you said to me? Tesh asked. On Talvek Station, when you left? If you ever need anything, just call. You kept that promise. I did. It changed the galaxy. Jiho shook his head. You changed the galaxy. You showed kindness when everyone else showed fear. I just responded to that. Then we both changed it, together. They sat in comfortable silence. Two old friends who had bridged the gap between worlds, who had shown that friendship could transcend species and distance and time. Below them, human and Velmar children played together. Above them, stars shone in their billions, and somewhere out there, other species were learning the lesson that had started in a storage room with a container of food. Kindness matters. Promises should be kept, and when someone helps you, you help them back. Not because of debt, not because of obligation, because that's what friends do.